Most people make fat loss so much more complicated than it has to be. The reality is, right, that you can get great results just by keeping it as simple as possible. So in this video, I'm going to show you everything I did to go from looking like this to now looking like this. So you can get similar results to me, but so much faster. Step number 1, stop having the all or nothing mentality. I don't know about you, but for me personally, when I first started working out, I had this weird mentality where I wanted to do everything 100% correct from the start, or I shouldn't even bother in the first place. I had this mindset, right, that if I didn't work out for 5 days a week and, instantly start having a healthier diet, that I was a complete failure. But in reality, right, this is so unrealistic because I had like no prior experience whatsoever. Let me ask you this: how can you stay 100% consistent in something that you have no prior experience in? The real answer is that you just don't. At least not 100% from the start. Maybe like 10 or 20%, but no way that you can do it 100% from the start and do it consistently. Before I changed my mentality about this, I was stuck in this constant loop, right, of doing the right things for about 2 weeks or so. But then I got overwhelmed and then I decided to quit. And this happened to me over and over and over, just months and months at a time. One day, however, I just thought to myself, right, like, why am I rushing the process? I can't stay consistent because I'm doing way too much at the start. So why don't I just change my approach instead? I have to start slow and actually work on being more consistent. So that's exactly what I did. I started slow and worked on my consistency. And before I knew it, 2 days of working out turned into 3, and then 4, and then 5. And like 2 or 3 months later, I was doing the full routine that I was struggling with beforehand. But now I was doing it consistently on a week-to-week basis. Now, why I'm telling you this is because if you are in the same position, just like I was, not being able to be consistent like whatsoever, then you have to change your approach. Like, what is the point of you rushing the process if you can't stay consistent? Then you're just wasting your time and you're not making any progress like whatsoever. Focus on building your consistency and gradually make it more difficult for yourself. If you can only eat healthy and work out for 1 day a week, but you do it consistently, right, then that is a great progress and you should pat yourself on the back. Because from this point on, you can only improve as long as you take it slow and work on the consistency. Now, if you want my personal help to hold you accountable and make sure that you get the progress that you want, just like me in this picture right here, then click the first link in the description. Gradually improve yourself by replacing the bad habits with good habits, but take your time. Something as small as just having the sugar-free version instead of the full sugar one, like when you're drinking soda, for example. Trust me when I say this, small changes like this, they add up over time and you can still enjoy yourself while making progress to your body. So the conclusion is, imperfect consistency will always beat, and I mean always, perfect inconsistency. Just ease yourself into it, and I promise you, the plan that you made for yourself will be so much easier to stick to. Step number 2, keep it stupid simple. Have you noticed recently that fitness and just getting in shape right has become so complicated for like no reason whatsoever? Follow this science-based study to get maximum gains. Do this exercise in a 32-degree angle for best results. And you're just watching this as a beginner or someone that's not experienced, like, what? Why is it so confusing for no reason? There was a period, right, where I was watching science-based lifters like every single day on YouTube, Jeff Nippard and all those other guys. And this was also the period where I made the least amount of progress. And you want to know the reason why? Because my brain was constantly, getting new information every single day from these videos. So once I decided to go to the gym and actually work out, right, I had literally decision fatigue because I couldn't decide what exercise to do. It wasn't until I decided to stop watching fitness content, especially doing it daily, right, and just sticking to the same routine with the same exercises, that I actually started to see some good progress to my body. There was literally no benefit to me, learning a new variation of an exercise just for the sake of learning it, because this only made it harder for me to actually do the work once I got to the gym. So my advice to you, keep it as simple as possible. The more unnecessary information that you get inside of your brain, the harder it's going to be for you to build some serious consistency, and that is what you need to make some good progress. Stick to one single routine and do that for the next couple of months. To help you along the way, I'll put a 3-day workout routine on the screen that you can copy to get started. Now, the routine itself, right, it doesn't matter as much as you think. What really matters is your consistency. But besides, having a routine that you follow, there are 2 rules that you must follow when it comes to making steady progress over a longer period of time. Number 1, good form is everything. It's so common for people to lift heavier weights than they can handle. And I used to do the same thing when I first started. Doing a bicep curl, right, which is supposed to hit your biceps because it's in the name. A bicep curl for me back in the day became a full body exercise because I was lifting so much more weight than I could actually handle. It was once I lowered the weight and focused on improving my form that I started to see good progress to my body. This myth about that you have to lift heavy weights to make progress is such a lie. What really matters besides lifting heavy weight is that you just target the correct muscles that you actually want to train. Because here's the truth, right? And trust me when I say this, if you continue lifting heavy weights without having good form, it's just a matter of time before you injure yourself. And then you will have to take months and months and months off the gym to just recover. Rule number 2, progressive overload. If you watch fitness content, you've probably heard this word before, progressive overload, but you think to yourself, like, what does it actually mean? What it actually means is just that you do more than you did your last workout. You progressively make it hard for yourself over a longer period of time. Let's say you train arms. You do bicep curls for 10 reps in one workout. The next workout where you do that same exercise, you try and do 11 reps instead. This is the concept of progressive overload. You gradually make it harder for yourself over time. And why this is important is because your body gets used to the same resistance if you keep doing it over and over and over. Now, why I'm telling you this and why it's important to follow is because look at this picture right here, right? My body used to look like this for months and months at a time. You want to know the reason why? Because I lifted the same amount of weight and the same amount of reps, and I didn't change anything up. So there was no reason for my body, to keep making good progress. I know this sounds complicated, but it really isn't. I keep it so simple when it comes to tracking this. I just use the notes on my phone. I write down the exercise and then I have the sets and reps next to it and then the weight. After my workout, I just change the number, whether it's the reps or the weight. So then I know what I need to do the next workout. Now, again, if you want my personal help with making sure that you get the progress that you want, then just click the first link in the description. Step number 3, be patient with the results, impatient with action. The beautiful thing with fitness and getting in shape in general is that no matter how you spin it, you have to put the work in to get the results that you want. There are literally no shortcuts. Once you see that you're actually making progress, whether it's on the scale or how your body looks, you know that you deserve what you see because you actually earned it. However, this is where most people crumble. They don't have the patience to stick with it long enough to get the results that they want. And I used to be the same way as well. I remember thinking to myself that in just a couple of weeks, I would look completely different when I first started working out. But that was far from the truth. Here's the harsh reality that you have to accept. It didn't take you a couple of weeks to get out of shape, right? So how can you expect to fix the problem in just a couple of weeks as well? Some advice from me to you personally. Don't focus on the bigger picture because that will leave you overwhelmed more than anything else. The only thing that you should focus on is to do the right thing today, and that's all that matters. And when tomorrow comes, then you take those challenges. Don't focus on tomorrow before tomorrow actually happens. If you focus on one day at a time, before you even know it, trust me when I say this, a couple of months will have passed and your body will look completely different from when you first started. So, the time is gonna pass no matter what, right? So why not make the most of it while you still have the chance and just focus on one day at a time? Now, I've learned so many things since I first started working out, and I compiled the biggest lessons in this video right here. So you can just learn from my mistakes and get way faster results.